Next up is our 5-time NASCAR Sprint Cup Series champion, Jimmie Johnson, and he drives the number 48 Lowe's Chevrolet for Hendrick Motorsports. Comes in race number 2 of the chase, third in points. And Jimmie, just talk about your outlook this weekend as we embark on the second race of the chase.
Yeah, you know, we had a nice run at Chicago. I felt like at times in the race we really had a chance to win, and still came out of there with a very good top 5 finish. Certainly had challenges to overcome throughout the night, so to take a challenging, eventful night and turn it into a top 5, I think says a lot about our team and the speed we have. And the August stretch was is now hopefully long and far behind us in our rearview mirror. So we're excited and optimistic for this weekend. It's a track that Chad really likes. We've both had good success here, and it's important to, I think, really finishing. Of course, you want to win, but knocking down those top 5s, top 10s if you don't have the best today, and just not get too far behind this early in the chase.
Questions for Jimmie? If you have one, raise your hand. We'll start right here with Lewis, and then we'll go to this gentleman right here, and then to Bob.
Yeah, Jimmie, hi. Lewis Frank, Speed Week. I was wondering, when you come out of the pits and you're back in the 20s and know you have a lot to do you see red? Do you get mad? How do you feel about that? Is it, I'm going to have a lot of fun now?
No fun. Traffic is so tough to get through. Definitely seeing red, a lot of complaining on the radio. Just before we took the green on that run before we got to third, a lot of complaining. I'm like, man, I need track position. You're killing me. I need track position. And once I got to, I think, 4th or something, Earl came on the radio and said, hey, buddy, there's that track position you wanted. So, I was complaining a lot, especially the second time, because it's so hard to get back through the field. And that second to last run, man, we were flying. And it was still fast the last run, but we had things perfectly matched set of tires and everything rolling right on that second to last run.
Go ahead, sir.
Jason Remillard, Springfield Republican. Just talk about some of the guys in the chase, like Junior and Joey, had tough runs at Chicago, and they're back in the pack now. But you showed in 06, you finished in the high 30s here and still won the championship. I mean, just talk about just not giving up hope, and that these guys still have a chance as you showed.
Yeah, you can't give up hope. It's not the way you want to start the chase. Last year I had 2 bad races, and really one in Phoenix where we crashed and still had a chance going to Homestead. So I think there still is a chance for them. Unfortunately, they're losing control, and that's what no one wants to have happen. As you have poor finishes or bad finishes, whatever the cause, you lose control, and that's the worst part. But we'll see. I mean, 10 races, anything can happen. Talladega's still out there in front of us, and I think once you get through Talladega, the championship picture becomes much more clear. And, again, not the way they want to start, but it's not time to panic yet.
Go to Bob, Alan, and then to Dustin.
About Parker Sporting News. Were you surprised when you heard the news Napa was leaving Michael Waltrip Racing, and what type of impact do you think it has on teams to actually see a sponsor leave over something like that?
Definitely shocked. The long-standing relationship that Michael has had with Napa, and definitely shocked. I don't know what message it sends. Clearly there's been a lot of things flushed out and discussed over the last couple of weeks, and the sponsor stood up and said, hey, this is where we stand. And I saw something where Michael has spoken to his other sponsors, and they're all behind him. So in this tough economy and tough world right now, we hate to see sponsors leave, and it's going to be very challenging for MWR with the loss of such a major sponsor.
We'll go to Alan. Alan's good. We'll go to Dustin, Ed, and Mike Vega.
Dustin Long, Motor Racing Network. Just want to also ask you about restarts, just what your viewpoint was last weekend, and what kind of impact might it have here just because of the different track configuration.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's taken a little bit away from the leader, which is okay. The leader, with knowing that you most cases couldn't be beat back to the start-finish line, you could set things up to get the person next to you to lift. And I think Jeff was kind of talking about it earlier. When second is on the inside and you're on 1.5 miles and you have that big apron down below, if you can get second to lift, now he's 3 wide and someone next to him slowing him down, and you've got a big advantage. So it's taken away some advantage from the leader, which is fine. I think it'll promote a better start. less controversy clearly, but a chance for better racing through 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and maybe more lead changes. So that's good for our sport directionally. I still think we need to focus on how guys lay back. And when you have a huge apron down below, like we did last weekend, it's easy to lay back, 3/4 of a car length to a car length and roll up on the driver in front of you and be inside. So that's the part that I think we need to focus on next, but definitely a good change.
So what, just about, you talk about not being able to play the games as much, maybe, but you still got the restart zones. I mean, there's still some of that gamesmanship, a lot of that can still take place, right?
A lot. I mean, there's some. The ace everyone had in their pocket was knowing the leader couldn't be beat. Now when the green's out, it doesn't matter, and that does change it. There's change on both sides for the leader and for second. I think it makes life easier for second. If the leader spins, you're not put in the position, did he spin? Is this questionable enough? Am I only 6 inches ahead? Is that going to be viewed all right by the tower? I mean, it takes away a little from both sides, but I think in the end it's a better product and easier to officiate.
I'm going to take 3 more questions. Ed, Mike Vega, Gordon.
Ed Hinton, ESPN.com. Jimmy, you were talking about just trying not to get too far behind this early in the chase. But don't you also need, how badly do you need a sort of a breakout win? And if nothing else but to shut us up about you haven't won since July. Can you keep that not conservative, but just steady approach, or do you need to bust out and win one here pretty quickly?
Well, I mean, when you get to the chase, at least my focal point, you can't look back on the regular season. I mean, it doesn't matter if you've dominated it or if you've been behind it. It's a 10-race stretch of its own. And, with that in mind, I haven't won in a week. I finished 5th and had a shot to win last week. So, that's how you have to look at it, honestly. And I know that Dover, Martinsville, our performance on plate tracks this year, our performance on mile and a half tracks in general, I know there's some very good opportunities for us ahead. So, blinders on, focus on the 48, focus on what we need to do, and not let the outside opinions or, just racing, what goes on, to be a distraction to us. We need to run our best 10, and I honestly feel if we put together our best 10 races, we'll be in contention for the championship.
Let's go to Mike Vega and end with Gordon.
Jimmy, Michael Vega, Boston Globe. Hey, how you doing?
Okay.
Just want to ask you about the broader issue of teamwork, especially within the framework of the chase. With the rules that came down last week, do you think that's going to have any kind of chilling effect on whether or not you're able to, function on the racetrack as teammates without calling into question, whether or not you're walking that fine line that NASCAR's kind of, set and said, hey, this is what's appropriate, this is what's not. And you've been on both sides where your teammates have been your opponents in the chase, and yet you've been alone in the chase, and your teammates have had to kind of help you in some way, shape, or form. Can you still do that?
Yeah, I mean, you can let a guy by to lead a lap, and the flow of the race and what goes on out there is still the same. And I guess the ruling might have a different meaning for one team versus another. For us, I mean, it's the way we've raced, and the only team orders we have ever had at Hendrick Motorsports is don't crash your teammate. That's it. One very simple rule, and we still break that rule at times. So for us, it hasn't been a big change, and there's obviously a spotlight on things, and I feel that it was a rare situation. I'm sure it's happened more than once in our sport, but it was pretty rare, and I think NASCAR has the language they need in their rule book. We certainly have the eyeballs paying attention now for stuff like that, and we'll jump on top of it next time if it happens. Yeah, it doesn't change the way the Hendrick mindset has ever been. So we'll still function and do what we can. And right now I've got 3 teammates. All 4 of us are in the chase. And anybody that saw the closing laps with Gordon and I at Chicago knows that we were both very hungry for that one point. I mean, he almost had me pass 2 or 3 times, and I was able to rally back on the outside.
Final question, Gordon.
Gordon Kirby, Motorsport Magazine. Jimmy, as you know, Juan Montoya is moving back on to Indy cars at the end of the year. From your point of view, how do you look at Juan as a race car driver? How has he impressed you? And what can you say about maybe the challenges he's faced with a smaller team than your team? Just talk about Juan in general as a race car driver.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that and it's only been a couple times, but I've had a chance to see him in a high downforce car and on a road course, which would be in the Grand Am Series. And my opinions and ability to race with him and his car knowledge of a stock car is one thing. And you go to a lighter downforce car, road course in general, and watch Juan do his thing. I mean, he blisters everybody. So I feel very confident that he's going to be successful going back to IndyCar. Certainly want him to be safe. I mean, he's had a roll cage around him for a long time now, and I'm sure has grown used to that comfort level and safety factor that's there. But his ability to get through a road course on brakes and turn in speed and all that stuff, I mean, he's gifted. It's why he had won the kart championship and went to F1 and had the success that he did. And stock cars are a different animal. So I have high hopes for him. The one thing that I've heard through Allmendinger is that the open wheel, IndyCar world has changed quite a bit, and it's ultra competitive over there. And he has come back with his eyes wide open saying, man, I have no idea how hard those guys run week in and week out. So I'm assuming there'll be some type of acclimation process for him to get up to speed and get going, but he's going to do just fine.